So, hello everyone, welcome to the session Introduction to Yasi. Good to have you all here. So, my name is Ashutosh Gupta. I'm the coordinator for the Electronics and Robotics Club, and the motive for this session is just to give everyone of you an idea of what we at the club do in terms of projects and what all work we have and all the other aspects of the club. So we'll wait for a few minutes before starting. Okay, and I guess let's start. So, firstly, the this is us. Like this is one of a very old, club picture which was taken at an outing. And in terms of what we do, so our major objective at the club is conducting research and doing robotics projects. Description of all these projects I'll come to a bit in a later. So we have a lot of projects, but there are two main classes of projects which we do over here. One are long-term research projects and other are Quark display projects. So Quark, if some of you might know, is the technical fest of BITS Goa, which happens annually. And we put up some display projects to show off our, strength and whatever qualities we have in that tech fest. And another thing which we do is conduct a CTE course. So CTE is Center for Technical Education, and every year we collaborate with them to conduct robotics introduction courses, which gives an idea of all the aspects of robotics like various electronics components, automation, and stuff. This time, and we have been conducting them from many years now. This time around, right now the plans for CTE courses have not been announced, but it would be announced soon by them. And apart from all this, we also conduct a lot of events and workshops. So, and we release a lot of assignments. Then various workshops could include on Arduino or CAD modeling and stuff. And events are some of the events which we have conducted over the last years are hackathons and open challenges, etc. Then one discussion session. So this is something which we conduct only internally RC. So this includes, discussing some of the very newest research ideas or some unique papers or some work which the seniors have been working upon. And these are really fun to, get a good knowledge of what's happening out there in the world today. And lastly, we also do go on outings, which are, fun to be around in Goa. But since this year being COVID, we couldn't do much outings. Let's see when we get to that. Also, before I forget, like if any of you have any questions, please do put them in the chat box. We'll get to all those questions towards the end. Now, moving on to who we are specifically. So that's me, Ashutosh Gupta. I'm the chief coordinator for ERC. And the other coordinators include Arshit Rungta, the technical head, and Pranav Goyal, the teaching head. Then we also have a core. So all the secondees, like 2020 batch people, are the core of the club. They do most of the work, like they participate in projects, they take the projects forward and everything. But from the core, we have a management committee that helps us, with various aspects of managing the club. So that includes Athar, Bhavya, and Dhruv. And these guys not only, help us manage the inventory, but they also lead a team, a media team, which helps us with all the outreach stuff. And so recently, some of our alumni, so some of the ex-members or seniors from our club, they have, moved on to a lot of places, a lot of great labs, like so to name a few that are Autonomous Robots Lab in NTNU, Robotics Institute and CMU. These are some of the labs where our seniors are currently working on, very interesting robotics projects right now. And we do stay in touch with them a lot. They give us, they conduct some of the discussion sessions which we have inside the clubs and give us a lot of a lot of new information. So yeah, that's our alumni. Moving on, if you want to know more about our projects or our alumni or all the past members, I would suggest you please visit our website and take a look for yourself. In the About Us section, it has all the details for all the ex-members up until our founders. And yeah, so I hope all of you here would be part of the WhatsApp groups, the robotics WhatsApp groups which we have made. If not, then I would strongly suggest you guys please fill this form and get in touch with us in the WhatsApp groups for all the sessions and all the communications which Yasi will have further. We'll have it on those groups. So do fill these forms. So moving on to our projects. So as I said, there are two major categories of the projects: research projects and display projects. Research projects are long-term projects with a research focus behind them. They tend to not technically have a very immediate goal, but the goal is to learn and research into a particular field of interest. And you would be wondering what these field of interest are, but we'll come to that later. And secondly, display projects are short-term projects which are usually focused to be shown in Quark or in other display events, and these kind of look cool just to show it off and all that. So to give an example, these are some of the recent display projects which we have worked upon. The first one being the Sketcher. So this was developed for Quark in 2020, and so the objective of this project was to give an input image and it would sketch it out. Like you can see the examples of the sketches made in the right hand photo. So the input of this project, like input of this machine, was you could select any image, give it to the software, and it would convert it into all the lines and path the cursor should take to draw the image. And you can even change the art style, like you could have shades or you could have just single line vectors. And it was an interesting project to work upon, and it created really beautiful examples. Like that could be the BITS dome of a BITS Goa. Then next project was Clan. So this was a 8-legged bot. It was based on Clan mechanism, which is a very basic mechanism for a walking leg bot. And this was a really simple project which was developed using basic materials like wood and all. The parts were laser cut, so members had to CAD model all the stuff, all the parts, and the robot was Bluetooth controlled via phone. Then the second project is an LED globe. So this was the flagship project for Quark 2019. It was a really huge project. Like as you can see, it's even bigger than its human size, and it had an LED array in form of a semicircle which used to rotate at a very high speed and generate this globe-like effect to show off images. There were plenty of images generated. One of the example is being this Captain America symbol. And then the LED hexapad was another project which was worked upon. So this gave a cool audio visual effect. Like this had capacitive sensing, and when you touch any of the LED hexapad, it would play some music based on your touch and give us some really cool lighting effects. So these were all our display projects which we used to show off in Quark. Moving on to research projects, which currently all our members are working upon. So firstly is the acoustic camera. So this is acoustic camera. So by the name of it, it's basically a way to detect obstacles or map the environment using acoustic sounds instead of visual light. And this project is currently been working upon as a Python package to detect obstacles and by various microphone arrays. And The next project is EcoSlam, which is a superset of this project, acoustic camera. EcoSlam is a project which aims to localize a robot using acoustic sounds. So like there are a lot of heavy words. Localization for a robot is a very essential feature. Like right now, I'm sitting here in my chair, so I know I'm being localized here. But for a robot, localization is still a very important task, or still a task which is not that easy. So for robot to know where it is, we usually use cameras like stereo cameras or some other sensors. But those are firstly very expensive and may not work in all the environments. So in some environments which are visually challenging, like visual, there we can use sound echoes to localize the robot. So that's what EcoSlam aims to do. And some of the environments where this can be useful are underwater regions, pipes, or dark regions where there's not much of light. So EcoSlam tends to build a team of robots which can localize using sound echoes. Next is Troutbot. This is one of our flagship projects, and it has been in works for 3 to 4 years now. So the aim of the project was to develop an autonomous robot which can deliver stuff from point A to point B. Like if you would give the robot input as point B, it would autonomously navigate to it. And like over the years, it has now become a test bench for us to test out various planning algorithms, localization algorithms, and other things. Right now, the robot uses an RP lidar, which you can see the black sensor on top of it, to navigate through the environment. And we are working on including a camera in this robot, which will help with perception-based learning and perception-based navigation. So, yeah, the next project is SpiderBot. So, this is a six-legged walking robot, like by the name of it. So, legged robots is a very interesting field which is currently being, heavily researched into. You all must be aware of, Spot or Animal, which are the famous quadrupeds out there. So SpiderBot aims to develop a six-legged bot, which is known as a hexapod, to navigate into the environment and walk through difficult terrain. So right now the team is working on developing various trajectories, various controllers, for the robot to walk on an even ground, walk on a straight line, and then they will start, making the system more complex. So these are all the current projects which we are working upon. And if any of this you find interesting, do get in touch with us. And if you would want to work upon, do get in touch with us. And you can start working upon them, or if you have any other questions. Then right now, we went over all the projects that we are working upon. Obviously, some of it would be very tough, would seem very tough, or would be very challenging. But as you know, every difficult project has some core basic things on inside them. So the three domains where you can classify any project into, like all the work in a project into, are these. One is electronics. So electronics include, all the sensors, motors, microcomputers inside your robot, which helps it actually move. So sensors are used to, sense the environment. This could include temperature sensor, humidity sensor, any other sensor. Like there are a lot of sensors out there, which helps us to gain some information from the environment. And then there are microcontrollers. Some of the examples for microcontrollers are, Arduino, Raspberry Pis, Jets and Nanos. These are some of the basic microcontrollers which we use in our own projects, and they're the very famous ones. Even a lot of other projects use these. Microcontrollers, you can, compare them to your own laptop CPU. It's basically the compute board, the main compute board, which processes all the data. And then there are actuators, which include like motors or some linear actuators used to manipulate the environment. For example, if there are sensors, you send some data, your microcontroller will process it and send out some commands to the actuators to move the robot in a certain manner or change its direction in a certain manner. So these are the basic electronics components. And obviously there's one is PCB designing. So when we firstly start developing our electronic components, we tend to do it on a breadboard. As you can see in the right hand side image, all the wires are just put in a breadboard. But this is not very permanent solution, because obviously the wires can get loose or they can be removed. So once you finalize the electronic circuit design, we design a PCB to mount all this electronics in one big board and have a permanent electronics board for it. So PCB designing is also a very interesting field to explore further. Then moving on, uh, after electronics, there comes mechanical aspect of all the robots. So mechanical aspect is basically the how your robot will look like. So, and fabrication is a very interesting thing. Like after we do a CAD modeling, so CAD, as some of you might be aware, is modeling the robot design in softwares like Fusion 360 or SolidWorks. And after that, we have some 3D printers on campus, like either in Sandbox Lab or even with ERC, to fabricate all this, to prototype all the small aspects, small parts which we design, and then actually build the robot. So that is the mechanical designing aspect of robotics. Lastly is the automation. So once we have made the robot's mechanical chassis and even fit the electronics in it, but it still needs some code to have some sense to compute, have some decision making skills. So that is the automation part of it, is the code, which relates all the decision making stuff. So as you can see in the right hand side video, it's a Omni-based robot. This Omni-based robot was also developed by our club members, navigating through this obstacle field in an autonomous manner. So, have this path planning algorithms, or, deciding where the obstacle is, when to avoid it. All these require some algorithms, and which is the part of automation stack or the software stack of a robot. You can check out our various project repositories at the GitHub profile or the club over here. And yeah, so that's about it for the automation. Now, moving on to the plans which we have for you guys. So this is one of the sessions, the introduction to ERC. We have also planned the domain introduction. So as I went through all the domains in very brief, like I went through electronics, mechanical, and automation domains in a very brief manner, but we plan to introduce them to you in a more detailed manner in the session which we have planned for 29 January. So I hope every one of you do attend those sessions. And so apart from these lectures, right now we have planned a few workshops, but like based workshops on Arduino. Tinkercad is a online simulation website where you can use your Arduino skills and build circuits and simulate there. So that gives you a very easy manner to simulate an Arduino even without having an actual electronic board for it. And CAD designing, using Fusion 360 or SolidWorks. Then ROS. So ROS is Robot Operating System, which is a go-to software stack for developing all the algorithms. And in this video, as you see the robot navigating through the field, the software stack for that was also written on ROS. So ROS is a very versatile tool to learn. And Gazebo is a simulation platform, where simulation environment where you can simulate all your robots. And example for it is even in this, like this is So the simulation is being run in the gazebo environment. So ROS and gazebo in itself are a very important tool to learn for simulating all your algorithms. Then lastly, MATLAB and Simulink. These are very famous softwares. MATLAB is used to, do mathematical analysis of various models. Like for the project Spiderbot, we have been working on mathematically modeling the robot in MATLAB and carrying out the simulations there. Then MATLAB is a very versatile tool to have. It also helps you in various other fields like image processing and signal processing, etc., which might be tangentially related to robotics as well sometimes. So all these workshops we do plan to conduct and give you guys an idea for it, but the plans for them are the exact dates for them are tentative and will be announced in due time. And for these will be conducted in the coming months. So apart from these, we plan to conduct mini projects. So this is something which we started last year, and this will be the second year where we conduct mini projects after the huge success which we had with them last year. So the main idea behind mini projects is, when you get into robotics, sometimes it's very daunting to know where to start or what to start with. Even we guys faced this problem when we were in our first year. So by these mini projects, targeted at various small goals, we plan to give you guys an idea of how to go about a project. And these projects would not be very long. They will be 1 or 2 months long, and they'll be guided. Every co-member of ERC will help you through the projects. You'll be assisted by them. And some of the projects which we have planned right now are gesture detection using OpenCV, CAD modeling projects, Arduino projects, details for which will be announced in a week or so. So these mini projects will be a great way to start learning robotics. And yeah, we found a huge success with them last year. And apart from these, we'll be releasing some assignments, challenges, or competitions, as I talked about before, like some hackathons or some assignments or some open challenges which you can take part in. So lastly, like for what you guys would be wanting to know, like how to get inducted in ERC. So we won't be conducting inductions in a traditional manner, which other clubs and departments might be doing. We tend to judge you guys over the next 2 to 3 months over all your participation and interest which you guys show in mini projects or our assignments and everything. And after that, we'll induct you guys into ERC. So if you want to get inducted in ERC, take part in many projects, take part in all the lectures and events which we conduct over the next 2 to 3 months. And if you constantly show interest and like all the things which we do, then you will have a chance to get into ERC. So this is a method which we have started to apply from last year itself, and we'll be continuing it this year also, and not have traditional inductions which you would expect to have a interview in the next week itself. So yeah, that's the way to get into ERC. Yeah. So yeah, I went through that quickly. So any questions? Okay, so you guys, one thing to clarify, after mini projects, there would be an interview to finalize your induction process. But as I said, the induction would be after the mini projects, and so that will come in a month or two. Okay, so I'll go through some of the questions you guys would have put up in the chats. Do we collab with outside sources for research projects? So yeah, like we do collaborate with teams outside our club, outside our even outside our college to for some projects. As a matter of fact, the project ecosystem is currently collaborating with a team in University of Sheffield, UK. So that's one of the things which we do. And yeah, we collaborate on a lot of projects with other clubs as well. What CPU do you use, Raspberry or Arduino? So, so using Raspberry or Arduino, that depends actually on the project itself. Like it depends on the project's need, whether it needs a Raspberry or whether it needs an Arduino. Then based on the need, we make a decision and then use the microcontroller or microboard which is needed. Then is having macOS gonna give any problems? Okay, so that would depend actually on your version of your Mac. Because I'm not sure if you can dual boot Linux or Ubuntu in your macOS. I'm not really sure. Like, few members of have told us that they face issues while dual booting Ubuntu in that, but others use virtual machines. So that I guess you'll have to see down the road. Like, if possible, obviously we'll prefer to have Windows because it makes life easier. But yeah, like macOS, you might face some problems with Ubuntu. How will we be inducted? Like, is it an interview or should we work on a project? So yeah, as I said, we won't have an interview directly just in the next week as other clubs or departments might be having. We will be conducting many projects and other events and various other workshops. So after taking part in all of those, then there would be an interview like after our mini projects end, and then you can stand a chance to get inducted into ERC. How many do you induct from a batch? Well, it's usually been so there's not a hard number that we restrict ourselves to, that no, we won't induct more than 70 people or something like that. It totally depends on the persons that are interested in the club in that year. So it's also okay if you don't get inducted in the first year. We do induct a lot of people down the road also. So there's not a hard number which I can actually give you guys how many we induct. But yeah, like it totally depends on the applicants. Any prerequisites? So no, there are no prerequisites for anything. Like trust me, even I started with from scratch. Like I literally had no idea when I came into Yasi about any stuff. So I wasn't aware. I wasn't even aware of what an Arduino was. So there are literally no prerequisites for any of these things. You will get to learn all the basics from everything from in the club itself. When do these mini projects start? So yeah, these mini projects will start in February. We currently plan to start them at the end of the first week of Feb. The announcement for that will be made soon, and details of each and every mini projects. We'll conduct another session explaining you guys all the mini projects that there are, and then you can make a informed decision of which mini projects you would wanna take part into. Then, do ERC make humanoid robots? Well, we had a biped walking robot project, a very old project. We don't like it was any years ago, like maybe 8 to 10 years ago. We don't have any video for that, but I've heard that some seniors did work on a biped project a lot of years ago. And close to a humanoid, if you want to say, there's a legged, multi-legged project which you're working on, is Spiderbot, which is a six-legged robot. So that's the closest which we have right now. But obviously, if you are interested in working on a humanoid robot, like and if you do get into Yasi, we're happy to help you through or guide you through actually making that robot. Since we don't know much about robotics and automation, how will we start upon the mini projects? So yeah, the mini projects are will have no prerequisites. They are gonna start from very basics, like basic Python and everything. So you don't need to worry about if you don't know any stuff or you have no idea of automation. Even we didn't have. We'll start from the very basics. We didn't get inducted in the first year. Can we apply again in second year? Yeah, sure. Like you can obviously try in your second year again. So apart from these mini projects right now, we do have a lot of winter assignments or some assignments which you can check out on our GitHub repository, and by solving them, and then you can get into ERC. If you're currently in your second year, I would say get in touch with a ERC member, and then we can discuss as to how you can get into ERC. But if this question was from a current first year and asking whether we can get into second, so yeah, you'll have plenty of opportunities even in a second year to get into ERC. Does the alumni network promote your research, like provide you with the funding for research? Okay. So, well, alumni network, it's like we have, we more than funding, the one of the most important thing could be intellectual help. So they do guide us with some of the research questions which we get stuck upon, or maybe even connect us to their professors or their lab partners, or so that also actually helps us get past some problem statements. Funding, well, I would say don't worry about the funding right now. We'll get to that later on. Would you consider inducting if I were to skip the mini projects and do something else related to the field? Well, we would suggest you guys to go through the mini projects and explore what there is. But I'd say before deciding to whether to skip the mini projects or not, firstly attend the session of introduction to the mini projects. So that will explain you what the mini projects are there. If after that you feel that they are maybe too beginner level for you, something like that, then we can discuss that later on. I guess that's more of a specific use case, so we can discuss that later. But in general, I would suggest you go through the mini projects because it helps to explore a field in depth in basics, and makes your core basics for all the projects ahead. Can we manage mini projects? Because from 19th Feb we have NSIMS. Okay. So yeah, we are aware of your schedule, and this time your schedule is pretty tricky to plan for. So yeah, we'll plan our mini projects accordingly, that it has, I wouldn't say least, but lesser clashes with your academic activities or academic commitments. And yeah, we'll plan accordingly. And yeah, mini projects, even in the mini projects, once they start, will have deadlines or workload manageable, that you can manage it with your all the exams coming up or all the quizzes that are coming up. I don't know even basics of Python or MATLAB. Will that be a problem? No, it won't be a problem. So see, MATLAB, firstly, I'd say MATLAB is a very important and an advanced tool. So obviously no one knows, very few people know MATLAB in their first year itself. You slowly learn through it. And Python, it's really easy. Like we'll, even in mini projects, we have dedicated a week or two for Python itself. So you'll start from the very basics. So that won't be an issue. If I get inducted into ERC as a first year student, what sort of projects can I expect to start from after the inductions? So After you get inducted into ERC, so as I talked about all the research projects which you have, you can directly start working on them, whichever interests you or whichever you find interesting. And apart from that, if like for example, if I would want to give an example from me, so after my first year, after working on a few projects, I started my own project, which the spider project. I started it in my own first year itself. So after getting into ERC, if some of our current research projects you find them interesting, you will directly start working on them. If not, then obviously we can guide you through starting your own project as well. Knowledge of what programming languages, if any, would make my time through many projects easier. Okay, so that will be Python. Like Python is a very easier language to start off with. So we have designed our mini projects such way that they start off with Python. And if you know C, C++, then obviously that is helpful. And how much time do we have to dedicate for ERC, like in a week? Well, so that depends on your project as well, and how much you would want to work in the project. If you're honestly, if you're interested in a project, like you won't feel a lot of hours passing by working in the project. And yeah, like there isn't a definite number for these kind of stuff, like how much time do we need to dedicate, or it's not like a job that I could tell you that these many hours a week you would work in ERC. So it's not a hard number. It really comes down to how you guys manage your own time. So for some people, they're very good at managing time, so they don't work much but complete all their work in very short time. Some people take longer. Any particular software you would like to recommend for us to get familiar with? Well, I'd say if you want to start off, then Python would be enough for now. Like otherwise, no, we'll be starting many projects, so you'll get in touch with a lot of resources over there itself, or you can check out. So one of the thing which I missed out. So if you navigate through our website, there's a section known as handbook. So it's a very detailed handbook or collection of resources which we have developed over the past few years. It has got a lot of information on all aspects of robotics and various other resource links. So if you're really interested, I would highly recommend you check out the handbook. It covers a lot of aspects: mechanical, electronics, automation, every stuff. So you can even find Python or resources to learn. Does people knowing any coding knowledge be preferred over those who don't? No, there is never this preference that, like, as I said, there are no prerequisites. So we won't never give a preference to one over the other just based on their knowledge. Like it depends on your interest and how much you work over all the events and projects which we'll be conducting over the years. So no, there won't be any bias or preference, if you want to say that way. For rendering, what kind of software should we get hand off? I don't get rendering. Like what rendering are you talking about? CAD designs or video rendering? If someone could you clarify, like rendering? If it is CAD rendering, then as I mentioned, Fusion 360 and SolidWorks are the two software which the club members use. Oh, okay, simulations. So again, so simulations, there are a lot of different simulation environments which we use. One of it is Gazebo, which is widely used inside our club. Other is Simulink. Then yeah, these are Actually, these are the major two which we use. Some of the other simulation softwares we have seen are PyBullet or uh, yeah, PyBullet is one of which I remember right now, which we have seen. Yeah, that's about it. Like apart from that, honestly, it depends on the project itself. So when you start a project or when you're working on a project, it really depends on what kind of simulation you need to. So that's why the simulation environment changes. Like for example, as a Spiderbot is using MATLAB and Simulink for their simulation environments. That's because they needed some maths related simulation software to simulate the maths. So they used that, then moved on to Gazebo. And yeah, that depends on the project, but these are some of the simulation softwares which we use in our club. Will the mini projects be based on the vertical we are interested in, or it would be a common one for all? No. So there will be separate mini projects, like there would be based on different areas. Like as I said, there would be some projects based on Arduino, some projects based on CAD modeling, some projects based on image processing, OpenCV. So yeah, there will be divisions of different projects, and you can choose which one you would want to work upon. All these details will be released soon, and we'll have another session for introducing and explaining all the mini projects out there, because we did see last year that it would become easier for you guys to make a decision when we explain what you can expect in all the different mini projects. So we'll conduct that session soon. Yeah, we'll be having and 29th, so 29th January we'll be having a detailed session on each domain. So don't miss that. That will really help you guys understand what area you might be interested in. Okay. Any other questions? So again, building on that, all the mini projects will start from the very scratch on any given particular topic. So you need not worry about prerequisites or any knowledge beforehand. Do we get these platform like Python, etc. to pilot platform? If you're talking about ROS and Gazebo, it's like you can download that. It's an OS, like it's on an OS known as Ubuntu, which you can dual boot in your laptop, or run it on a virtual machine, or there are other various ways out there. And no, we don't need to buy it. Then for MATLAB and Simulink, we have a campus-wide license using our BITS email. So you get a MATLAB license using your BITS email ID for that, which is very helpful. And you even get your account for Fusion 360. Like some of you might have downloaded AutoCAD, right? So that same way goes for Fusion 360. You have a campus-wide license. And yeah, these platforms we do get. A lot of them we get from BITS. Okay. Will be questions there. Seems like not. Okay. How long do these licenses last? Well, I'm not aware, but it do last until your undergrad at least. Like that's the minimum. So all the 4 years or 5 years you're there in the college, these licenses will last. I'm not aware of if they last after you graduate or not. Most probably not. For for rendering, what kind of software should we? Okay, oh, should we get handoff? So yeah, as I said, rendering is someone said Blender or something like that. Depends on your use case. Probably if you could elaborate, then okay, that's done. I guess we'll end this then. So yeah, thank you guys. Like, thank you for joining the session. It was great having you all here. And yeah, we'll end the session here. If you have any other doubts, please do ask on the robotics group. That's one of the reasons which we have made the group for communicating or maintaining a thorough robotics community. And lastly, before ending this, I would again iterate, do attend the session on 29. That will give you an in-depth knowledge of all the domains that there are in robotics. In this session, I skimmed through them very brief, but they will give you a detailed knowledge. So thank you guys.